I've worked the night shift at County Dispatch for almost 8 years now. 8 years of late-night noise, voices that don't match the names they give, and those long, silent minutes between calls when the building feels too big, too empty. People think the job is about adrenaline, high-speed chases, gunshots, fires. But most nights are quiet. Too quiet. That's when you start noticing the hum of the fluorescent lights, the soft click of your own keyboard, the way the phone lines sometimes pop like someone's about to speak, and then nothing. That night was like any other. Coffee lukewarm, the glow of the monitors painting my hands a sick shade of blue. I was half listening to the weather report on a small radio under the desk when the line lit up. 911. What's your emergency? Nothing. Not static. Not an accidental pocket dial. Nothing. Hello. I tried again. This is 911. Can you speak? Then I heard it, a whisper. A woman's voice. So faint I almost thought I imagined it. He's inside my house. I sat forward instantly, pen in hand. Ma'am, I need your address. Her breathing quickened, sharp little hitches like she was trying not to cry. Please just send someone. I can, but I need to know where you are. I typed fast, flagging the call for priority response. Your address. That's when the sound started, faint at first, like a long, slow exhale over the line. Breathing. It wasn't hers. Hers was short and panicked. This was deep, steady, almost deliberate. Close enough to the phone that it felt like it was in my ear. I muted my mic and gestured for Michael, the only other dispatcher on shift, to listen in. He put on his headset, frowned. Ma'am, I said again, unmuting, where are you right now? Her voice shook. In the kitchen. I locked the door. I can see the hallway. Is there anyone else in the house with you? Do you live alone? Another pause. Then, I live alone. I began the usual trace process, expecting to see coordinates or at least a cell tower ping. But the location box stayed empty. No data. Ma'am, what's your street name? Miller. Road. I typed it in. The system pulled up 2 Miller roads, one in our county, one in the next over. I asked for her house number. Silence. Then, the breathing again. Louder now. Ma'am. She whispered, he's closer. I froze. Is he in the kitchen with you? No, she said, voice trembling, in the hallway. I pushed my chair back, grabbed the map binder, the old printed one we use when GPS fails, and started flipping. No Miller Road listed in either county where she claimed to be. Can you tell me what town you're near? A landmark? Anything. More breathing. But now I realized it wasn't just in my ear, it was in hers too. Because she stopped talking. Completely. I could hear her breath hitch every time that other breath came. Ma'am. Long silence. Then, almost too soft to hear, I think he's watching me. Michael mouthed at me. Where is she? I shook my head. I ran a manual lookup on the incoming number. No match. Not in any database. I asked again, is there a window in the kitchen? Can you see outside? Her answer was so faint it barely rose over the line. It's dark. What's outside? Street lights? A porch? Another breath. Then no lights. No road. Just trees. The hair on my arm stood up, because that didn't make sense. Both Miller roads in our system are in residential areas, not surrounded by woods. Ma'am, do you have a neighbor nearby? Silence. I checked the timer. We'd been on the call for 4 minutes. My screen still showed no trace data, no carrier info, nothing. Ma'am, I need you to stay on the line. Help is coming. Can you? Click. Dead air. I tried calling back. The line rang once, then went flat. Michael stared at me. We sending a unit? I hesitated. To where? I didn't hear from her again until 1:43 a.m. The line lit up. Same number. 911. What's your emergency? Same whisper. Same woman. He's inside. Ma'am, I remember your voice. We've spoken before. Can you give me your address this time? Breathing. That slow, steady exhale. Are you safe? I pressed. She didn't answer. Instead, I heard the creak of floorboards. Not over the phone, through the phone. Like the mic was pressed to the floor itself. Ma'am, are you still in the kitchen? Yes. Is the door locked? Another pause. Then, not anymore. My throat tightened. Do you have a back door? Can you get out? I can't see. What do you mean? It's dark. No, ma'am. Is there no light in the house? Pause. Not since he came. Michael was already checking the outage grid. Nothing in her supposed area. I went for another angle. Tell me what you see. Right now. She breathed, slow and shaky. The hallway. The end of it. He's standing there. I felt my heart rate kick. What does he look like? He's wrong. Wrong how? Like he's breathing for me. I opened my mouth to ask what she meant, but the breathing got louder. So loud that the little speaker on my headset distorted. And that's when it changed, no longer in time with mine or hers. It was overlapping. Too many breaths. Ma'am, I need you to... She screamed. It wasn't loud. More like she was trying to scream through clenched teeth. Then the line went dead. I flagged it for follow-up, logged everything, and submitted it to the watch commander. An hour later, the system flagged my own call history. That number? It had never connected. Not once. I didn't sleep the next day. Couldn't. And when I came back for my next shift, there was a sticky note on my keyboard. In my own handwriting. It said, Miller Road. Kitchen. Dark. I told myself not to expect another call. I told myself she'd been a crank caller, some woman messing with me during the graveyard shift, tried to see how far she could push me. But I didn't believe it. Not really. There was something in her voice I couldn't shake, that desperate, wet edge in her words. And the breathing. I kept hearing it in my head, even when I was off the headset. 2 nights passed without incident. No block calls. No whispers. No Miller Road. By the 3rd night, I almost convinced myself it had been a one-off. Almost. It was a little past 2 in the morning when her voice came back. Same number on the console. Same shiver in my gut. 911. What's your emergency? She didn't waste time this time. No hesitation. My kitchen lights flickering again. I froze, pen halfway to my notepad. Who is this? You know who. My hand tightened around the pen. Where are you right now? A pause. Then home. Miller Road. Yes. I clicked open a map system again, even though I knew it would be pointless. Ma'am, we've spoken before. I need you to listen carefully. I couldn't locate you last time. I can't send help without an address. You already know where I am, she said softly. I opened my mouth to argue, but something in her tone, the way she said it like a fact, not a guess, kept me quiet. Tell me about the light, I said instead. She exhaled, shaky. It's the only thing on in the whole house. Every other light is out. It's been out since, she trailed off. Since what? Since he came. I glanced at Michael, who was pretending not to eavesdrop, but clearly was. Is it flickering now? Yes. Can you describe it? Fast. Slow. It's slow. Like it's breathing with me. That made my scalp prickle. She kept talking. It's over the kitchen table. I'm sitting under it. Every time it goes dark, I can't see the doorway. And when it comes back on, I think he's closer. I typed everything down, fingers tapping too fast. What do you see right now? She whispered. Doorway. Still there. Michael mouthed. Power outage? I checked the outage map. Nothing reported. Still, just to be sure, I patched a call to the power company while keeping her on the line. Yeah, the rep said, we've got nothing in that sector. Miller Road? Which town? I hesitated. That's the thing. I can't pull it up. There was a long pause on their end. Then, the rep said something I'll never forget. Sir, there's no active service account for a Miller Road in your county. Hasn't been for, hold on, 16 years. I sat back in my chair, staring at the call timer. 16. I repeated. Yup. Closest we have is Miller Street, different area. Miller Road hasn't had a grid connection since 2009. We tore the lines out after a house fire. I swallowed. What kind of fire? Electrical. Whole house went up. We cut power to the road. No one lives there now. I didn't know what to say. I ended the call with the power company and went back to her. Ma'am, are you using a generator? No. Then how is your kitchen light on? A long pause. It's always been on. The way she said it flat, matter of fact, made my stomach knot. You're telling me you've had no power, but the light stays on? Yes. How long? Another pause. Since before I was here. Something in her voice changed when she said that. Like she realized she'd admitted something she hadn't meant to. Before you were there? Ma'am, how long have you lived at that address? She didn't answer. Instead, I heard the faint buzz of the light through the phone. The slow, lazy hum of an old bulb. And under it, that breathing again. Low. Measured. Not hers. I leaned in toward my console mic. Is someone else in the room with you right now? Her whisper was almost inaudible. I think so. Can you see them? No. The light's out. I frowned. You said it was on. It was. The line went quiet except for that breathing. Then I heard the pop of an old light bulb cooling down, the soft tinkle of glass falling. The sound made me jump. Ma'am, what just happened? The light broke, she said. Her voice sounded small. Younger, almost. I can't see the doorway anymore. I told her to stay calm, to stay where she was, to keep talking to me. But all she said was, he's inside the room now. I pushed Michael toward the supervisor's office, signaling for a trace team, even though I knew it wouldn't work. My screen still showed nothing. Ma'am, can you hide? Is there somewhere you can lock yourself in? Silence. Ma'am. Then, in the faintest voice, it's warm. I didn't understand. What's warm? His breath. My palms were slick on the desk. I started talking faster, trying to keep her with me, trying to keep her attention. Listen, I'm here. I won't hang up. You're not alone. Just tell me what's happening. She took a deep, shaky breath. The light's back on. I blinked. What? It's brighter now. He's not in the doorway anymore. My skin crawled. Where is he? Behind me. Something in her tone broke then. A kind of resignation, like she'd been through this before. Like she knew exactly how it ended. I tried to stall, asked her questions, tried to make her describe the kitchen, so maybe I could get some landmark from her. She told me about the table, the old wood paneling, the chip counter. I kept typing. No matches in any database. Finally, I asked, Ma'am, how do you know it's him? She didn't hesitate, because every time the light comes back on, I'm sitting at a different chair. I sat there, cold all over, replaying her words. What do you mean? I asked. The kitchen table has 6 chairs, she whispered. I started at the one closest to the phone, but every time the light flickers, I'm further away. I try to make sense of it. Maybe she was disoriented, maybe she was in shock, but then she said, I'm not moving. Michael came back, shaking his head. No location. It's like the call doesn't exist. I pressed my mic button. Ma'am, can you stand up? Can you try to get to a door? The line hissed softly, her breathing ragged. It's hard to stand. The light's so bright now. Everything's white. I opened my mouth to speak, but she cut me off. He's breathing for me again. And then, silence. No click, no hang-up tone. Just gone. I sat there staring at the dead line, my own reflection staring back from the black console screen. When I finally looked down, there was a sticky note next to my keyboard. I hadn't seen anyone walk by. It said, the light's not for you. I didn't sleep after the kitchen light call. I went home when the sun came up, lay in bed, and just stared at the ceiling, replaying every word she said. The sticky note was still in my pocket. I didn't remember putting it there. I didn't remember writing it. The light's not for you. The words made no sense, but I couldn't throw it away. I don't know why. I kept it on my nightstand like some kind of warning. 2 nights later, she called again. Same number. Same thin, breathy voice. He's inside again. My hand went cold around the mic, ma'am. Where are you? In the kitchen. I could hear her breathing, not rushed this time, but sharp. Alert. Like every inhale was deliberate. Is the light on? I asked before I could stop myself. Yes, but it's dim now. Like he's using it. Using it for what? She didn't answer. This time I had the presence of mind to flag the call directly to patrol. I hit the alert, gave them Miller Road, possible home invasion, occupant inside, unknown suspect. Ma'am, I have officers heading your way. Can you stay on the line with me and tell me where in the house he is? She whispered in the hallway. The officer's voice crackled in my earpiece. Dispatch, we're en route. Send exact location coordinates. I tried, but the system still came up blank. No GPS, no carrier, no trace. I sent them to the closest road match and told them to start from there. Ma'am, can you tell me if he's moving? Yes. He's in the doorway now. Her voice didn't shake. That was worse somehow. Units suspect in the kitchen doorway, I relayed. Copy. We're at Miller Road now. I waited. Silence from the officers for a few beats too long. Dispatch, be advised. The unit said finally. There's no residential structure here. Just road ends in forest. I frowned. Can you check for an unmarked driveway? They said they were walking the tree line. Ma'am, I need you to listen. I said into the mic, the officers are looking for your house. Can you describe what's outside your kitchen window right now? Trees. Any lights? Signs? Road? No. My stomach nodded. Ma'am, I need more than that. Can you hear sirens? No. The officer came back on comms. Dispatch. Nothing out here. No lights, no mailbox, nothing. We're about to turn back. Don't, I said, sharper than I meant to. Keep looking. She's telling me the suspect is inside the house. Negative. Dispatch, the unit replied. There's no house here. We're standing where the GPS pin should be. It's just trees. I muted the mic so she wouldn't hear. She's still talking to me. I told them. Ma'am, where is he now? Her whisper came back, softer, behind the table. I felt my pulse in my ears. Are you still in your chair? Yes. What is he doing? She hesitated. Leaning. Yes. Over me. I can feel it in my hair. I related to the officers out of pure instinct, even though I knew they couldn't see what she was describing. The unit's voice was quieter now. Dispatch, there's nothing here. I didn't know what else to say, so I went back to her. Ma'am, can you move to another room? No. He'll follow me. Can you lock the kitchen door? Her breath came out shaky. It's already locked. The officers said they were circling around to check the back of where the house should be. I told her that. She didn't react. Instead, she whispered, they can't come here. What do you mean? Her voice was almost too soft to catch. It's not their road. I typed her exact words into the call notes without even thinking about it. My hand shook on the keyboard. Ma'am, can you see the light from the hallway? It's gone now. Gone. Yes. Is it dark? Pause. No, not dark. What do you see? She took a long breath. White. Just white. I could hear faint footsteps through the line. Heavy. Slow. They didn't match her breathing. Ma'am, is he still behind the table? Yes. What is he doing now? Counting. My skin went cold. Counting what? She exhaled, long and shaky. Chairs. The officer's voice came in again, strained. Dispatch. We're pulling out. GPS is glitching. It's showing us 5 miles from our actual location. We'll try again from the north and tomorrow. I didn't answer them. Ma'am, are you still there? Yes. Where is he now? In the doorway again. Is he looking at you? Pause. He doesn't have to. A faint creak came over the line, like an old door opening. What was that? I asked. The hallway's longer now, she whispered. I rubbed my eyes. Longer? Yes. It keeps going. I can't see the end anymore. My throat tightened. Is he still in the doorway? No. He's further down. The patrol unit cut in one last time. Dispatch, we're officially clear. This location doesn't exist. Returning to service. I didn't bother acknowledging. I just kept her talking. Ma'am, can you still see the kitchen light? Yes. I thought you said it was gone. It is. I didn't understand. It's only on when he wants it on. We stayed like that for another minute. Me asking questions, her answering in short, clipped phrases. Then the line cracked with static, loud, sharp. When it cleared, her voice was different. Lower. Slower. He's here. I swallowed. Where? In your chair. The line went dead. The next morning, I came in to start my shift and found another sticky note on my keyboard. Same handwriting. Same pen. It said, stop sending them. I used to think there was nothing worse than silence after a scream. I was wrong. The sound of a call cutting off mid-scream has a weight to it, a sudden, surgical kind of finality. It doesn't just end in your ears. It keeps vibrating in your head, like the echo of a door slamming in a locked room you'll never open. That's how it was with her. 1 second, her voice was in my ear, strained, ragged, whispering things about footsteps and shadows. The next, a scream so raw it didn't even sound human. And then, dead air. No crackle of static. No thump of a phone hitting the floor. Just a clean disconnect, like someone had pressed a button. I sat there staring at my screen. The clock on my console still ticking. The address still glowing on the display, like it was mocking me. Unit 7, copy. I tried again into the mic, my voice tighter than I wanted it to be. Do you have visual? Nothing. Static. Someone was talking in the next station over. Laughing, actually, but it sounded far away. Like I was listening from the bottom of a pool. The house had been a problem all night. The GPS marker kept shifting. The street name never matched the map. And now, there was no one on the other end to confirm anything. I think I sat there for a long time, trying to figure out if I'd done something wrong. Did I mishear her address? Did I fumble the call transfer? But the log was clear. I'd typed it exactly as she'd given it. Twice. I kept replaying her voice in my head. He's in the hall. He's standing at the top of the stairs. He's by the door. Each update like she could see him moving, second by second, through her home. But the thing that stuck, the thing that made my skin crawl, was how she never seemed surprised. Afraid, yes, but not surprised. Like she'd been expecting him. The thought wouldn't leave me. Hours passed. I don't know how many calls I took after hers. I don't remember any of them. I just remember the hum of the monitors, the cool ache in my wrist from resting too long on the desk. And then, I blinked. It was like waking up without realizing I'd fallen asleep, except I hadn't been asleep. I was still in my chair, my headset still on, but my screen was dark, and the clock at my station said 3:12 a.m. The others were gone. That shouldn't have happened. There's always someone here. I took my headset off, and the silence hit me. Not the usual quiet, either. This was empty. Thick, like the air in the room had weight. That's when I saw it. A sticky note. Yellow, curled at the edges, stuck to the bottom of my monitor. It had my handwriting on it. My exact loops, the way I pressed too hard on the first letter of a word. It said, 742 East Holloway Lane. Her address. The same one I typed hours ago. The same one the officers could never find. I stared at it for a long time. Long enough that my eyes watered. I didn't remember writing it. I didn't even own any sticky notes. When I touched it, the paper was warm. I wish I could tell you I called someone right then. That I reported it, logged it, tore the note up, and threw it away. But I didn't. I put it in my pocket. I told myself I just wanted to make sure I wasn't losing it. That I'd go home, sleep, wake up, and this would all feel stupid. Except I didn't go home. I got in my car and drove. I knew Holloway Lane wasn't real. It didn't show up on any of our maps. But I drove anyway. I let the streets take me wherever they wanted, turning when it felt right, ignoring the ones that didn't. The night outside was the kind where the streetlights are too far apart and the dark feels alive between them. The radio kept picking up half stations, fragments of music, voices with no beginning or end. And then, there it was. A street sign. Holloway Lane. The letters looked wrong. Too tall. Too thin. Like they'd been stretched. I slowed, my headlights catching the edge of a mailbox with peeling paint. The number on it, 742, was hand-painted in black, almost invisible against the wood. The house was set back from the road, just a shape in the dark. I sat there for a while, my car idling, waiting for, I don't even know, a reason to leave. But instead, I turned off the engine and got out. The grass was wet, soaking into my shoes. The air smelled like dust and rain that hadn't fallen yet. The front door was open, just a crack. I should have left. Every thought in my head was screaming that. But something pulled me forward. The inside smelled wrong. Not rotten exactly. More like a place that had been closed up for too long. I stepped into the hall. The floorboards groaned. I waited for some sign, movement, a shadow, anything, but there was nothing. The house felt empty in the way a cave feels empty. You can't see anything, but you feel something deeper in it. My eyes caught on something in the dark. A phone. Old. Corded. Sitting on a small table against the wall. The receiver was off the hook. I picked it up without thinking. And I heard it. Her voice. Not a recording. Not a memory. Live. Breathing. Where is he now? I whispered. She answered without hesitation. In the hall. My stomach turned to ice. I looked up. The hall was empty. You need to leave, I told her, but my voice sounded small. He's at the top of the stairs, she said, and I swear I heard her smile through the words. I backed toward the door, phone still to my ear. He's by the door, she whispered. I froze. Something moved in the dark beside me. I don't remember dropping the phone. I don't remember running. I just remember the sound of footsteps behind me. Slow, measured, matching mine. By the time I got back to my car, my hand was shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. I didn't look back. Not once. I drove until the road felt familiar again. Until the streetlights started looking like streetlights, not like watchful eyes. When I finally got home, the sticky note was gone from my pocket, but there was another one on my fridge. Same handwriting, same address, and one more line underneath. Next time, answer faster. I've been a dispatcher for 7 years. That's long enough to know when someone's truly in danger and when they're just lonely. It's also long enough to know the calls that get under your skin aren't always the loud ones. Some of them come in quiet, like they're afraid the phone line itself will betray them. It was about 2:30 in the morning when the call came through. The room was still, just the hum of the computers and the faint smell of burnt coffee. My partner for the night, Maggie, was in the corner with her headset off, scrolling her phone. I was on my second cup of coffee, just trying to keep my eyes open when the tones sounded in my ear. The line clicked. I said my usual, 911, what's your emergency? Silence. For a few seconds, I thought maybe it was a pocket dial. But then, hello. A man's voice. Whisper quiet. I leaned closer to the mic, sir. Can you speak up? I can barely hear you. No, he whispered. No, I can't. You need to listen to me. Okay? I'm trapped. That word, trapped, shifted something in my chest. Where are you trapped, sir? He took a shaky breath, and I heard something faint behind him. Not static, not interference. Something dry, like fingernails on wood. I'm in a crawl space, he said. It's dark. I can't move much. I think I'm under a house. I started typing into the CAD system, fingers working faster than my thoughts. Okay, do you know the address? He stopped. The sound behind him stopped too. I think it's 1832. No, 1834 Miller Avenue. It's a duplex. Yellow siding. The address popped into my memory. I'd heard it before, months ago. A domestic call. But my mind didn't linger. Okay, I'm sending officers to you now. Stay on the line with me. Then I heard it. Clearer now. That scratching sound again, but slower. Deliberate. Sir, is it you moving? He swallowed hard enough that I could hear it in my headset. No, it sits above me. Someone's crawling up there. Scratching the beams. I felt my shoulders tense. I've been on enough calls to know fear when I heard it, and this wasn't the shaky kind you get after locking your keys in your car at midnight. This was bone-deep fear. I kept my voice even. You're sure it's a person? Could it be an animal? He whispered, people don't breathe like that. That's when I realized there was another sound on the line. Very faint but steady. A slow inhale and an even slower exhale. Whoever, or whatever, it was close enough to his head for the phone to pick it up. I muted my mic for a second and called out to Maggie. I've got a man trapped in a crawl space. Says there's someone above him. She shot me a look, slid her headset back on, and started monitoring the channel. Back on the line, I asked, can you describe them? No, he said. I can't see anything. It's pitch black. I woke up here. That stopped me cold. You woke up there? You weren't trying to get in on your own. I was in my apartment, he said. I was on my couch, watching TV. I think I fell asleep. I woke up here. My hands were tied. I felt my throat go dry. Are your hands still tied? No, rope's gone. I don't know how. I think. The scratching started again. Faster this time. I could hear the faint creak of wood. Oh God, he whispered. They're moving closer. I heard the dull thud of him trying to shift in the crawl space. There's no way out, he said. It's tight. I can barely move my elbows. I think there's dirt under me. I can't. Stay calm, I said. We've got units on the way. Just stay on the phone with me. Keep talking. But he went silent. The breathing above him grew louder. Slow, steady, almost in rhythm with mine. Then, a voice. Not his. Not mine. It was right against the phone's mic. So close I could almost feel the warmth through the earpiece. Don't listen to her. I froze. Sir, I said quickly. Are you with someone? Did you hear that? His voice came back, a trembling whisper. I'm alone. No, someone just spoke. I'm alone, he said again, his voice breaking. Please just get me out. I wanted to ask him if maybe the voice was in his head, but I didn't. He already sounded like he was holding himself together with threads. The line was filled with a mix of his ragged breathing and the slow, deep breathing above him. I typed faster, sending updates to the responding units. Caller states someone is in the crawl space above him. Unknown suspect. Suspect whispering. I tried to keep him talking, asking about his name, his age, anything to ground him. But his answers kept getting shorter, more distracted. Then suddenly he said, "It's quiet." I strained my ears. No scratching, no breathing. Just him. "Do you think they left?" I asked. "No," he swallowed. "They're right over me. I can feel the weight in the beams. They're not moving. Just waiting." His voice cracked on the last word. I checked my screen. Units were still a few minutes out. I felt this knot in my stomach, this sense that those few minutes mattered more than anything. "Sir, listen to me," I said. "I want you to close your eyes. Focus on my voice. Don't think about what's above you." But I could tell he was barely hearing me now. His voice dropped to a faint murmur. "They're breathing in my breath. Every time I exhale, they breathe it in." I didn't know what to say to that. Then the sound returned, only it wasn't scratching this time. It was a dragging noise, something heavy shifting slowly along the wood. He let out a low whimper. "It's lowering itself." "How? You can't see, right?" I asked, my own voice tighter than I wanted it to be. "I can feel the air moving," he whispered. "It's closer to my face." I was about to tell him to yell, to maybe scare it off, when the voice came again. This time clearer, still pressed right against the mic. "Why'd you bring her here?" I swear my blood went cold. "Sir," I said, "do you know what they mean?" "Who's her?" But he was already crying now, soft, shallow sobs. "Please hurry. Please. I can't." And then it happened. The phone filled with the sound of frantic scraping, like someone dragging nails along the wood above his head, faster and faster. He was breathing so hard I thought he might pass out. "It's coming down, it's—" The line cut off. Dead. I stared at the call-ended screen, my own breathing loud in my ears. Maggie looked at me, waiting for me to explain. But I didn't have words. When the responding officers arrived at the address, they found nothing. No signs of forced entry. No open crawl space. The duplex tenants were asleep. Nobody matched his description. They searched for hours. No trace. But that's not the part that kept me up that night. It's that even now, days later, when I try to remember his voice, I can still hear the breathing. And it doesn't sound like it's on the other end of a phone anymore. When I got back into work the next night, the first thing I did before clocking in, before grabbing coffee, was check the incident log from yesterday's call. I half expected to see it had been resolved. A police report. Maybe even an all-clear note in neat capital letters from the responding officer. But the entry was still sitting there, hanging open in red, pending. The caller's name, Evan Reeves. Location, 148 County Road 16B. Status, verification failed. Verification failed usually meant the address didn't exist, or it wasn't registered to a county grid, or sometimes it was just a sloppy typo. But I typed that address exactly as he'd said it, slowly, twice, and when I clicked the location tab, it just showed empty white space. No coordinates, no map marker. I told myself it was probably just a data glitch. Old mapping software. Maybe he meant 16 instead of 16B. The rural areas had plenty of unmarked spots, old trailers without numbers. But then I remembered the way he'd whispered, the way he'd breathed into the phone like he was trying not to move. And I remembered his last words, the ones that stuck in my head even after I drove home last night and tried to sleep. "She's right above me." Around midnight, I decided I couldn't just leave it. Not without knowing if someone had found him. I asked dispatch lead if any unit had checked it out. She scrolled through the notes and frowned. "No," she said. "It got bounced back. No such property. They flagged it as a probable prank call." "It didn't sound like a prank," I said before I could stop myself. She gave me a look, half amusement, half warning. "You'll get 100 people saying that. Drunks, weirdos, meth heads whispering about aliens in the attic. Don't take it home with you." But I had already taken it home. The call came in again at 1:27 a.m. Same number, same strained, paper-thin voice. "Is this the same dispatcher?" I recognized him instantly. "Evan, is this Evan Reeves?" There was a pause. His breathing was louder this time, like the phone was pressed directly against his mouth. "She's still up there," he whispered. I tried to steady my voice. "Are you hurt? Can you move?" "No, I can't. She's right above me." Something brushed the line, an uneven, rasping sound. I thought it was interference until I realized it was coming from his end. Something dragging, something scratching on wood. "Evan, listen to me. I'm going to send help. I just need you to tell me." No, he cut me off. You can't send them here. It's not on a map. You won't find it. Just stay on the line. Please. I typed while I talked, trying to triangulate his phone. The system blinked red. NO fix, signal mast. Evan, where exactly are you? A pause. Then, in the same hoarse whisper, 148 County Road 16B, under the floor. I froze. Under the floor? He didn't answer. I thought about the creaks and scrapes I'd heard last night through the phone. How faint they'd been, but how steady. Evan, what's above you right now? Silence. Then he exhaled, slow and shaking. She knows I'm talking to you. The scratching above him stopped. For the next 30 minutes, I stayed on the line with him. Every time I asked him to describe his location, he gave the same address, the same impossible number. I tried every database I had. Nothing. At one point, I thought I heard a low, breathy laugh in the background. Not his. It was faint, like it was pressed through layers of wood. He went completely still when it happened. I knew because I couldn't even hear his breathing anymore. Finally, at 2:01 a.m., the call cut out. Just a dead click. No goodbye. I stayed a few minutes after my shift ended, just staring at the blank map where his location should have been. 148 County Road 16B. I even typed it into my phone's GPS on the way home. Same result. Address not found. But as I drove past County Road 16 that morning, I saw something in my headlights. An old, dirt-side road with a rusted metal gate half sunk into weeds. There was no sign, no number, just an opening that looked like it hadn't been driven through in years. I slowed down, just enough to see past the first bend. It was nothing but trees. Still, I could almost picture it. An old house back there, sagging into the earth, the crawl space beneath it breathing in the dark. That night, I thought about him again. Not about the address. Not about the map. Just him. The way he'd whispered like someone was leaning over his head. The way he'd said she. When I closed my eyes, I could see him in there. On his stomach. Face pressed into the dust. And above him, in the dark, something moving. Something waiting. The next shift, I told myself I wouldn't answer if the same number came in. But when it flashed on my screen at 12:49 a.m., I picked up without thinking. This time, he didn't say hello. She's closer. His voice sounded wrong. Too low. Too slow. Like his mouth barely moved when he spoke. I asked where exactly he was now. Didn't move. Can't move. She's been scratching. In the background, something scraped along wood, then stopped, then scraped again longer. I asked what she looked like. He whispered, "You don't want to know." Then the line filled with static so loud, I had to pull the headset away. When it cleared, I swear I heard a second voice. Soft. Humming. But Evan didn't speak again. Not until the very end. When I heard him say, almost tender, almost like a secret, "She knows your voice now." The line went dead. That was the last call that night. But not the last time I'd hear him. I didn't notice it the first time I played the tape. That's the thing about certain sounds. You don't hear them until you know to listen. The call had been bothering me all morning. The guy in the crawl space, whispering about the woman crawling above him. The way his voice kept cracking like the air was too thick to pull through. I'd filed the report, checked the log, and handed it off. But I couldn't shake the fact that the address he gave me didn't exist anywhere in the county database. I told myself it was just an error. Bad signal. Maybe he misread his own address in the panic. But part of me knew better. At lunch, while the rest of the dispatch floor buzzed with chatter, I slipped into the back storage room where the older calls were backed up on cassettes. We were supposed to be phasing those out, but for certain incidents, they still kept physical copies. Something about redundancy, they'd told me. I found his call in the fresh stack. The tape was unmarked except for the date and case number scrawled in marker. My handwriting. I sat down at the little desk in the corner, pressed the clunky black headphones over my ears, and hit play. The familiar hiss of analog filled my head. Then, 911, what's your emergency? My own voice. Clear, steady. I almost sounded like I knew what I was doing. Then him. I'm in the walls. I can't, she's right above me. The sound of my pen tapping against the desk in the recording made my skin prickle. That was me in that moment, not even aware I was doing it. It played exactly as I remembered, the slow back and forth, me trying to get his address, him insisting on the impossible location, the hollow, cramped echo of his voice. And then, near the end, I heard it. So faint I almost thought it was the tape warping. A second voice. It wasn't him. It wasn't me, or at least not the me I remember being. It was quieter, underneath both of us, buried under the hiss of the tape, like it was recorded through layers of dust. It was my voice, but wrong. Hoarse. Closer to my ear than the headphones should have allowed. It whispered, "Don't move." The words were drawn out, as if whoever said them had all the time in the world. I sat there frozen. My own breath was suddenly too loud in my ears. I rewound the tape 30 seconds and played it again. There was exactly the same spot. My voice, but older somehow. Rougher. The vowels bent slightly different, like someone mimicking me after years of practice. I couldn't explain it. I listened to it over and over until my neck ached from leaning forward. Every time I heard it, it felt closer. Not louder, just nearer. I pulled the headphones off and rubbed my eyes. When I looked up, the narrow aisle of shelves on the far side of the room seemed darker than when I'd come in. The storage light above them flickered once, then steadied. I told myself to put the tape away, to walk out like nothing happened. Instead, I pressed play again. "Don't move." It was like my own voice was sitting right behind me now. I turned. The shelves stood there, still, lined with their spines of old cases. The dust on the top, rows, looked undisturbed. I shut the recorder off and shoved the tape into my pocket. I don't know why. Maybe part of me thought I could study it at home. Maybe I didn't want it left in that room where someone else could hear it. When I stepped back out onto the dispatch floor, the chatter had shifted. People leaned toward their screens. A couple of them had their headsets on, speaking low. One of the senior dispatchers glanced at me. "You just step out of that crawl space call." I froze. "What do you mean?" It came in again. She gestured to her screen. Same guy, same voice, exact same words. I felt the tape pressing against my thigh, through my pocket. I didn't take the call. She already had it, but I heard just enough through the overlapping chatter to know it was identical. Even the pauses in his breathing matched. I couldn't make myself sit back down. I just stood there listening, and then I heard it faintly from her headset. That same background hiss. I don't think she heard the second voice. The rest of the shift passed in a blur. My chest felt tight the whole time, like I was waiting for something to press against my back. When I got home, I didn't turn on any lights. My apartment felt wrong that night. Too still, like the walls were holding their breath. I sat at my kitchen table, pulled the tape from my pocket, and slid it into my old deck. The hiss came alive in the dark. "Don't move." I think I stopped breathing for a full 10 seconds. The air in the kitchen felt thick, warm, almost damp. I hit stop. Somewhere above me, the ceiling creaked. Just one step, like someone shifting their weight. I live on the top floor. I told myself buildings settle. What expands? Rats in the ceiling, maybe. But I couldn't shake the image of the man in the crawl space and the fact that I now had two versions of my own voice in my ear. One from the headset, one from the dust. I didn't sleep that night. I sat there until the sky turned pale. Every so often, I'd hear that soft groan of the ceiling, just enough to know it wasn't my imagination. By morning, I convinced myself I had to go back to the records room, not to prove anything to anyone, just to see if that voice was on any other tapes. The shelves seemed taller than before, like they'd grown overnight. I started pulling cases at random, dropping them into a cardboard box. One by one, I played them. Most were clean, just static, the callers, the responders. But then, halfway through a tape from 3 years ago, I heard it again. My voice, whispering from beneath the dust. Not "don't move" this time. It said, "I'm already here." My hand shook so hard the tape clicked to a stop. I don't know how to explain what it feels like to hear yourself speak when you know you didn't say it. It's like the sound comes up through your bones, like you're not sure which version of you is the real one anymore. I kept going, searching through call after call, and every so often, there was my voice layered in, saying things I couldn't remember ever saying. Sometimes only one word. Sometimes a whole sentence. Always too close. The thing that scares me the most isn't the sound itself. It's the thought that maybe all this time, I've been the one in the crawl space that I thought I was ready for anything. I thought, after what happened with the tapes, after hearing my own voice telling me not to move, that nothing else could get under my skin. I was wrong. It was close to 3 a.m. when the call came in. The screens were dim, the dispatch floor felt like a cave, and my headset felt heavier than usual. I could hear the faint hum of the servers in the next room, the occasional click of someone typing a report. No one was really talking anymore. Night shifts are like that. People retreat into themselves. The line clicked into my ear without the usual ring. That happens sometimes when a call is transferred from another channel, but this one was sharp, immediate, like I'd just been dropped into the middle of something. 911, what's your emergency? The man on the other end sounded winded. Not panicked, just worn out. His breathing came in uneven pulls, the way someone might sound after running, but I couldn't hear movement. They're here, he said. I didn't know what that meant. Sir, can you tell me your address? He hesitated. It doesn't matter. It was a strange thing to hear right off the bat. Address is the first thing we're trained to get. It's the anchor. Without it, you're just listening to someone drift. What's happening right now? Who's there? They're all around, he said. But they're not moving yet. My hand hovered over the keyboard, ready to flag a unit, but I didn't have a location. Sir, I can't send help unless you tell me where you are. He chuckled. It wasn't a happy sound. It was brittle like drywood snapping. I know you. I went still. You're the one from before, he said. You told me not to move. It was a sentence that shouldn't have made any sense, but my stomach clenched like I'd been hit. He shouldn't know that. That wasn't public. That was mine. I swallowed and tried to keep my voice steady. When did we speak before? I can't remember, he said. It's all just dust now. The word dust stuck in my head. I'd heard it before in another call. I didn't want to connect the dots, but my brain was already doing it for me. Sir, are you inside your home right now? He didn't answer. For a moment, I thought the line had dropped, but then I heard a faint scrape, something like fabric against wood. You don't want to see them, he whispered. See who? You know who. I didn't. Not exactly. But I had the feeling that if I pressed too hard, I might find out in a way I couldn't undo. His voice shifted, like he'd turned his head away from the receiver. I could barely make out the words, but it sounded like he was talking to someone else. Not yet. He doesn't understand. Sir, who are you speaking to? Silence. Then, without warning, his tones snapped back into clarity, but there was something wrong, like the voice didn't match the breathing. Don't move. It was my voice. Not kind of like mine. Not close enough to make me think maybe I was imagining it. It was mine. My pacing, my tone, the exact way I speak when I'm trying to keep someone calm. My chest tightened. Who is this? The voice didn't answer me. It answered the man. It's almost time. Then, mid-sentence, he was gone. No click. No background noise fading out. Just absence. I stared at the call log. Duration, 2:17. No location data. No callback number. Just a deadline. I sat there too long, headset still on, until Dana in the next cubicle asked if I was okay. I said yes. I lied. The rest of the shift passed like I was underwater. I took other calls, minor stuff, routine stuff, but I barely processed them. My mind kept going back to that one, and to my voice. By morning, I convinced myself I had to hear it again. Not out of curiosity. Not exactly. More like, I needed proof. Proof that I wasn't just tired, that my brain hadn't warped the sound in the moment. When the day shift came in, I went down to the archive room. It's in the basement, concrete walls, no windows, one flickering light overhead. It's where the digital backups are stored, along with boxes of old analog recordings. Most people avoid it. I logged into the system and pulled up the audio file. I told myself I'd just listen to it once. The first minute was exactly as I remembered. The man's breathing, the way he talked about them. And then there it was, my voice. I felt my own throat tighten when I heard it. It was like standing outside myself, watching me speak without control over the words. Don't move. The recording had a faint static under it, like dust moving in sunlight, if that sound could exist. It made my teeth itch. I should have stopped there, but I didn't. I looped it again, and again. By the fifth time, I noticed something else, something faint under the static. Another voice. Not mine. Not his. I boosted the audio, leaning closer to the tinny speaker. It was low, so low I could barely catch the shape of the words, but I swear I heard. He's in the floor. I froze. The archive room floor is concrete. Or, I thought it was. I didn't sleep that day. When my next shift came, I avoided the dispatch floor for as long as I could. I kept thinking about the voice. The floor. It was after 2 a.m. when Dana came over. She looked pale. Hey, do you know if the crawlspace door is supposed to be unlocked? I stared at her. What crawlspace? She gestured toward the far end of the hall, near the janitor's closet, the one under the center. I was looking for spare mop heads, and it was open. I didn't even know there was a crawlspace. We walked over together. The hallway was quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your ears. She pointed to a small, square door in the base of the wall. The metal latch hung loose. I knelt and pulled it open. A wave of cold air rolled out, musty dry, with that same faint dust smell I'd been imagining since the call. Inside was a narrow wooden staircase leading down into darkness. I don't know why I went in. Curiosity isn't the right word. It felt more like I was being pulled. The air grew heavier as I descended. I had to crouch near the bottom. The ceiling was low, and the walls were just rough timber. My flashlight beam cut through hanging cobwebs. It wasn't as big as I expected. Just a long, low room, maybe 10 feet across, running under the dispatch floor. The dust was thick. Every step left a dark mark in the gray. At the far end, something caught the light. A chair. It was old, wooden, one leg shorter than the others, so it leaned slightly to one side. A headset lay on the seat. Not a headset. Our headset. The exact make and model we used upstairs. I reached out, hesitating an inch from it. My fingers were shaking. That's when I heard breathing. It was behind me. Slow. Even. Right at the base of my neck. I spun, but the beam caught only dust hanging in the air. No one was there. Then the sound shifted. It was in my ear, inside my head. Don't move. I knew it was my voice again, but this time I wasn't hearing it through a speaker. It was right there with me. I staggered back. My heel hit the chair leg, and the whole thing toppled over. The headset clattered to the floor. The breathing stopped. The dust seemed to settle in slow motion, like it was falling towards something I couldn't see. I ran. I didn't tell Dana what I'd heard. I just told her the crawl space was empty and locked it behind me. But I didn't sleep that day either. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the chair. I felt the cold air on my neck. And I heard myself say those words again. I don't know who that man was. I don't know how he knew my voice or why he vanished mid-sentence. But I know what I heard under the dust. He's in the floor. I think he still is. IT started on a Tuesday night. The kind of night where the dispatch center felt heavier than usual. Too quiet. Too still. The clock above the whiteboard ticked toward midnight, and I was half listening to Carla talk about some stray cat that kept showing up outside her apartment. She was mid-sentence when the first call came in. Line 3 lit up. I took it. 911. What's your emergency? The man's voice was low, shaky. There's someone outside my window. I've heard that line 100 times. Usually it's nothing. A drunk neighbor. A shadow. A branch scraping glass. But there was something about the way he said it. No panic. No rush. Just this cold, flat tone. Like he already knew how this would end. Where are you right now, sir? He gave me an address. Maple and 6th. An older part of town. I started logging it, typing without looking away from the wall clock. 12:17 a.m. What does the person look like? She's just standing there. In the yard. She... Yeah, a woman. Long black hair. Pale. She hasn't moved since I saw her. She's just looking at me. I could hear him breathing, slow and uneven. No background noise. No wind. Is she holding anything? Does she seem armed? No. He swallowed hard. She's smiling. I started to ask if he knew her, but the line went dead. Not a hang-up. Dead. The light on line 3 went dark, and the quiet in my headset was like pressing your ear against a wall and hearing nothing on the other side. Carla looked over at me. Drop call. I nodded, but my stomach felt tight. 5 minutes later, line 1 lit up. I took it. A woman this time. Older. Voice trembling. There's someone outside my window. I swear my hand froze halfway to the keyboard. Where are you? Corner of Linden and 12th. Completely different neighborhood. I asked for a description. My fingers were cold on the keys. She's wearing this long white dress. Her hair's wet. It's all down in her face, but I can see she's smiling. What time did you first notice her? I don't know why I asked that. Protocol would have had me get more identifying details first, but it just slipped out. She hesitated. I don't know, just now, maybe 1217. That number punched the air out of me. You said she's outside your window. Which side of the house? The back, by the kitchen. And then, as I was typing, the woman on the other end whispered, she's waving. The call dropped. Same way. Instant nothing. I sat there, headset still pressed to my ear, listening to a silence that felt heavier than the room around me. At 12:26 a.m., another call came in. Different address. Different voice. Same woman. This guy was younger, maybe late 20s. He sounded like he was trying to convince himself he wasn't scared. She's standing in the alley, just staring. What's she wearing? White dress. Hair. Down. Black. Like wet looking. What time did you see her? He didn't even pause. 12:17. By the fourth call, my hand was sweating so bad my pen kept slipping when I tried to jot down notes. Each one, different part of town, different type of caller. Saw her at the exact same time. 12:17 a.m. Every one of them said she was smiling. And everyone said she was right outside the window or in the yard, close enough to touch the glass. We sent units to each address. Every time, same result. By the time the officers got there, she was gone. No footprints. No sign anyone had been there. Around 1 a.m., I started replaying the details in my head over and over like maybe there was something connecting the locations. But there wasn't. Different streets. Different neighborhoods. No overlapping routes. Then Carla leaned over. You're pale as hell. What's up? I told her every call, every detail. She frowned but didn't say I was imagining it. She's been here long enough to know when something feels wrong. That's when a fifth call came in. It was a little boy. His voice was so small I almost missed what he was saying. There's a lady in the yard. My throat tightened. Okay, buddy, can you tell me your name? Eli. All right, Eli. Where are you right now? He gave me an address. It was on the other side of town from every other call. Is your mom or dad home? They're asleep. Can you tell me what the lady looks like? There was a pause. Then, in this flat, almost curious voice, he said, she's wet. Like she came out of the river. I gripped the mic. What time did you see her? She knocked on my window. When? 12:17. I felt my pulse in my ears. Eli, I need you to go wake your mom or dad right now, okay? Don't hang up. I heard him set the phone down. His footsteps on hardwood. Then muffled voices. When he came back, his voice was even smaller. She's not in the yard anymore. The line went dead. By then, I didn't want to answer the phone anymore. Every ring felt like it was pulling me deeper into something I didn't understand. Between calls, I kept glancing at the glass doors at the front of the dispatch center. They looked out onto the parking lot. The sodium lights made the asphalt look wet, even though it hadn't rained. I found myself staring at the far corner of the lot, where the light didn't quite reach. Nothing moved. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that if I kept looking long enough, I'd see a shape there. At 2:03 a.m., the sixth call came. This one wasn't like the others. The man on the line was frantic. She's inside my house. The words slammed into me like ice water. What's your address? He spat it out so fast I barely caught it. Harper Street, near the river. How do you know she's inside? She was outside the window. Then his voice broke. I turned, and she was in the hallway, just standing there. Can you get outside? Get somewhere safe. I'm trying. The sound that came next wasn't a scream. It was more like the air being crushed out of him. And then the line went dead. We sent every available unit. By the time they got there, the house was empty. Door unlocked. Lights on. No one inside. No sign of a struggle. The rest of the night was quiet. Too quiet. Not a single call between 2:30 and sunrise. I thought maybe that was the end of it. That whatever it was had moved on. But the next night, at 12:17 a.m., the phone rang again. Different voice. Different part of town. Same woman. Over the next week, it became a pattern. Every night. Always 12:17. Always the same description. Sometimes she was outside a house. Sometimes an apartment. Once, someone saw her standing on the shoulder of a highway, facing the trees. We mapped the calls. There was no pattern to the locations. She could be anywhere. The weirdest part? Not a single one of the callers could clearly describe her face. They all said she was smiling. But when I asked what her eyes looked like or how sharp her features were, they'd pause. Like they'd never actually looked past the smile. One guy said it was like her face didn't want to be remembered. I've worked dispatch for 8 years. I've heard things you don't forget. The sound a person makes when they realize they're about to die. The silence after a gunshot. But this was different, because it didn't sound like people were in immediate danger. It sounded like they'd been noticed. Last night was the first time I thought maybe I've been noticed too. It was after my shift. I was walking to my car. The lot was nearly empty. The air was cold enough to sting my nose. When I reached my car, I glanced at the rearview mirror before unlocking the door. And for a second, I swear I saw her. Just a pale shape at the far end of the lot. Not moving. I blinked, and she was gone. I didn't even start the engine right away. I just sat there, gripping the wheel, listening to my own breath in the dark. It's almost midnight now as I'm recording this. I'm at work. The clock above the whiteboard says 12:15. I keep telling myself there's nothing to be afraid of, that it's just some weird hoax or a string of copycats. But deep down, I know that's not true, because the phone is going to ring in 2 minutes. And when it does, someone's going to tell me there's a woman outside their window. And maybe tonight, she won't just be standing there that I didn't sleep much after the night of the first calls. You can't really shake something like that off. Multiple strangers, all describing the same woman, down to the exact time she appeared outside their windows. It wasn't something you could explain away with a logical, clean answer. I told myself I'd come into work the next night, and it would be normal again. Just regular emergencies. Drunks fighting in parking lots. A guy finding a snake in his kitchen. Kids prank calling. You know, the usual noise. But there was this itch at the back of my skull all day. A heavy, pulsing thought that wouldn't leave. What if it happens again? By the time I got to the dispatch center, the air already felt wrong. That's the only word I can use. The room felt smaller than usual, the walls closer, and every sound, phones ringing, typing, seemed sharper, like the volume knob on reality had been turned up just a little too far. We have this big clock mounted on the far wall, right over the glass window where the supervisor's office is. I caught myself checking it every few minutes without meaning to, like my body was bracing for something. By 11:30, my knee was bouncing under the desk. I was answering routine calls, forcing my voice to sound calm, even cheerful when I needed to be. But every time I looked at the clock, my stomach would tighten. When it hit 12, I was already gripping my pen too hard. I tried to focus on my screen, telling myself over and over, it's just a coincidence that first night. At 12:14, my mouth went dry. 12:15, my headset felt heavier on my head. 12:16, my heart was pounding. And then, right on schedule, the line lit up. I took a deep breath and answered. 911, what's your emergency? The man's voice was tight, almost whispering. She's back. My pulse jumped. Sir, I'm sorry, who's back? You know who? The woman. She's outside my window again. My pen was shaking in my hand. Okay, sir, what's your address? He rattled it off fast. Not one of the addresses from last night. A completely different part of town. I kept my voice even. Can you describe her for me? He hesitated. She's not moving. Same as before. Same face. I almost asked him what he meant, same face, but before I could, another line lit up. Then another. My coworkers were suddenly all talking at once, the low hum of the room spiking. I swallowed. Sir, are your doors locked? Yes. I think so. You think so? I mean, yes. Yes, they're locked. I could hear his breathing picking up, coming in short, clipped bursts. Okay, stay with me. Are you in the room with the window? No, I'm in the kitchen. All right, that's good. Stay away from the window. Officers are. He cut me off. Wait. I froze. Sir. There was a long pause. I could hear this faint creak in the background, like a floorboard shifting under weight. She's not outside anymore, he said quietly. The hair on my arm stood up. Where is she? Another pause. Then, in this tiny, broken voice, she's in here. I didn't even know how to respond. My throat tightened. Sir, you need to get somewhere safe. She's just standing in the living room. My eyes flicked up to the clock. 12:17. What does she look like? I asked before I could stop myself. His voice cracked. She looks like you. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. What? She's wearing what you're wearing. The same shirt, the same hair, same face. I could hear him starting to cry, just these sharp, quiet sobs he was trying to hold back. "Sir." "She's smiling at me," he whispered. A sudden crash came over the line, the sound of something heavy falling, and then silence. "Sir." Nothing. Just dead air. I stared at my console, waiting for the sound of his voice to come back. Waiting for anything. But the call had dropped. I typed the address into the system with hands that didn't feel like mine, dispatching officers, my brain spinning through a dozen explanations that didn't make sense. One of the other dispatchers, Maria, leaned toward me, covering her mic. "I just got one too," she whispered. "One what?" I asked, though I already knew. She swallowed. "Woman outside the window." Same time. The phones kept ringing. More calls. Same descriptions. Only now, some weren't outside anymore. I took another call from an older woman who said the figure had walked through her hallway without making a sound. A teenager who swore he saw her reflection in his TV, even though it was turned off. Every detail lined up. Same height, same hair, same stillness. And more than one caller said she had my face. It didn't feel like fear anymore. It felt like being hollowed out from the inside, like something had scooped my insides away and left me running on autopilot. Every time I heard one of them say it, my eyes would drift to the dark glass window in front of my desk. We work in this big room, and at night, the glass turns into a mirror. I could see my own faint reflection, headset on, mouth tight, eyes locked forward. What scared me wasn't that they said she looked like me. What scared me was that I wasn't sure if I was the only one looking back. The officers got to the first man's house within minutes. They cleared the place. No signs of forced entry. No woman. Just an overturned chair in the living room. The man was gone. The report came back with words that still don't sit right with me. Premises empty. It didn't make sense. It still doesn't. But the rest of the night went the same way. Call after call, the same voice in my ear, different people, but the same tone, shaky, hushed, terrified. At 12:17, she was there. By 12:20, she was gone. And every time, the caller would say something about her face. By 4 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I went to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, tried to breathe. But the fluorescent lights flickered just once, and for a second, I thought I saw someone behind me in the mirror. Not moving, not breathing, just smiling. I didn't turn around. I didn't have to, because I knew if I did, it would be my face looking back that I've been watching her for 9 nights now. I didn't plan to. I didn't even know she existed until that first clip came across my desk, the one from the gas station in Hollow Creek. It was one of those late shifts at the dispatch center where time feels heavy. The calls had slowed down, and the only sound in the room was the low hum of the monitors. I was half focused on a report when Terry, one of the officers, forwarded me a file with no subject line. Just a link. I clicked it, expecting maybe body cam footage or a dash cam clip. Instead, it was a still from security footage. The camera was set above the pump area, pointed toward the lot. Everything looked normal at first. A silver sedan, a man filling his tank, the dark outline of the tree line in the background. But then I saw her. She was standing at the very edge of the lot, where the light from the lamppost started to fade into the shadows. A woman. Still, facing the camera. Her hair was long, hanging in uneven strands, like it hadn't been brushed in weeks. She wore a pale dress, the kind that looked like it belonged in another decade. And she was smiling. Not a wide grin, not some cartoonish horror face, just a faint, fixed smile that didn't seem to match anything else in her expression. Her eyes, it didn't look like they were seeing the lot, or the cars, or the man at the pump. They were looking straight at the lens. Straight at me. The timestamp read 2:13 a.m. I stared at the image for maybe a full minute, waiting for something to make it make sense. Maybe a prank? Maybe a drunk woman who wandered in from the woods? But Terry sent a second file. This one was from a night after. Same gas station. Same angle. Only this time, she was closer. Still standing. Still smiling. Still looking into the camera. One step forward. That was it. No change in her face. No movement caught mid-step. She was simply in a position that was unmistakably closer to the lens than before. I thought maybe I was just imagining it, so I opened both stills side by side. I lined up the light poles, the pump signs, the cracks in the pavement. And there it was, in the exact same pose, the exact same dress, but maybe 3 feet closer to the pump area than the night before. I remember feeling this weird pressure in my chest, like I just looked at something I wasn't supposed to. Terry called me a minute later. "Tell me what you see," he said. I told him. "She's moving closer," he said quietly. "Check the other files." I didn't want to, but I did. Night 3, closer still. Night 4. The hem of her dress now caught in the harsh white light from the gas station overhang. Night 5. The man at the pump was gone. The lot was empty. She stood in the center of it now, perfectly framed in the shot. Her head tilted just slightly, like she'd heard something far away. And then the locations changed. Night 6 wasn't Hollow Creek. It was a diner in a different town. The footage came from a camera mounted outside the front door, and she was there, standing at the far end of the parking lot, just inside the reach of the security light, still staring at the camera. It was the same woman, same smile, same dress, same eyes locked on the lens. Night 7, closer to the door. Night 8, closer still. By now, my stomach was in knots. There was no way this was coincidence. No way it was some local weirdo making her round across towns, standing in front of every security camera like some kind of, I don't even know what. Terry finally told me what I think he'd been holding back from the start. "This isn't just here," he said. "She's showing up in other states. Every night. Always closer." He sent me a folder. Dozens of clips from random businesses, street corners, parking garages. Different cities. Different cameras. Always the same woman. Always the same slow approach. And always looking right into the camera. I stopped sleeping properly after night 8. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that faint, wrong smile, those eyes that looked past the lens and into something else. I started avoiding my own reflection at night, afraid I'd see her behind me. Night 9 came from a small grocery store in Redfield. The feed was grainy, the angle tilted down toward the entrance. And there she was, right in front of the door. She was so close now that I could see the texture of her skin. Pale, almost gray. There was something wrong with the shape of her mouth, too. Like the smile didn't actually connect to any muscles in her cheeks. It was just there. And her eyes. God, her eyes weren't reflecting the light like they should have. They looked flat, like painted glass. I sat there staring at the footage long after it ended, my hands numb against the desk. I don't know what happens on night 10. No one's told me. But Terry hasn't answered his phone in 2 days. And tonight, my apartment building's lobby camera pinged my phone. One motion alert. Timestamp. 2:13 a.m. I haven't opened it yet, because I already know who it's going to be. And I'm not ready to see how close she is now. I never thought the call would come from here. Not from inside the dispatch center itself. The place where I sat every night, surrounded by blinking screens and ringing phones, the hum of radios, the quiet shuffle of my coworkers. But that's exactly what happened. It was late, past 3 a.m., and most of the team had gone home. The shift had been slow, nothing out of the ordinary except for the weight in my chest, like something was pressing down on me from the ceiling. I kept glancing at the clock. 3:14 a.m. I don't remember when I first noticed it, but the phones had gone quiet. Too quiet, like the silence before a storm. Then the phone rang. The screen lit up, but the caller ID was blank. No number, no location. I hesitated before I picked it up. 911. "What's your emergency?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Nothing, just heavy breathing. Slow, deliberate. My heart rate quickened. I swallowed hard. "Hello? Can you hear me?" The breathing stopped. Then a voice, soft, low, almost a whisper. "Help me." It was the voice I'd heard before. The woman. The one with the pale skin, the wet hair, the smile that didn't reach her eyes. But this time, she wasn't outside a window. She was here, inside. "Where are you?" I asked, but the line went dead before she could answer. I sat frozen, my fingers trembling over the console. Then the line clicked back on. "Why are you ignoring me?" she whispered. A chill ran down my spine. The lights flickered. I looked around the room, but I was alone. Or so I thought. I told myself it was a prank. A weird, twisted joke. But the voice was too familiar. And it was getting closer. "Look behind you," she said. I spun around. Nothing. Just my reflection in the darkened window. But I could feel her presence. Cold. Watching. The phone rang again. This time, I didn't answer. But it kept ringing and ringing until I finally picked up. "I'm right here," she said. The line went silent. I stood up, every nerve on edge. The dispatch center felt like a cage. I was trapped. No one left a call for help. No one left to save me. The last thing I remember before everything went black was that smile. That terrible, impossible smile. And the sound of footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. It was just past midnight when the call came in. I was sitting behind the dispatch desk, the fluorescent lights humming overhead, the usual dull chatter of radios in the background. It was the kind of night where everything feels normal enough until it isn't. The phone rang sharp, cutting through the quiet like a sudden breath. 911, what's your emergency? I said, voice automatic from years of practice. There was a pause on the other end, a silence so thick it pressed against my eardrums. Then a whisper, "Can you come get me?" The voice was small. Finn, a child. I frowned, leaning forward. "Who's this? Where are you?" Another pause. Then the same quiet voice, trembling slightly. "He's here." "Who's here?" I asked, trying to keep my tone calm, but my skin prickled. There was a soft shuffling sound, like breathing caught between words, and then a scrape, something sliding across wood. "He's under my bed," the voice said. My heart jumped, but I forced myself to stay focused. "Okay, can you tell me your address?" The whisper came again, slower this time. "I can't. He's watching." I blinked, startled. "Who's watching?" No answer. Just that soft scraping noise, like fingernails dragged lightly over floorboards. "Can you tell me what he looks like?" I asked, hoping to get something concrete. "He's not like me," the voice said, almost a sigh. "He talks like me, but it's not me." I swallowed hard. "Are you safe right now?" The whisper caught in a quiet sob. "No." I grabbed my radio. "I'm sending officers to your address. Please stay on the line." There was a long silence. Then the voice, almost a breath, "Thank you." The call crackled and then went dead. I stared at the phone, a chill running down my spine. I tried calling back, but the line was dead. I sat there, alone in the room, the quiet weight of that whispered voice hanging in the air. "Can you come get me?" I kept hearing it over and over in my mind. It was the kind of voice that sticks to your bones. Fragile, scared, but something else. I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't just a kid in trouble. It was something deeper. I spent the rest of the night trying to find the address, digging through databases, cross-referencing calls. But there was nothing. No record. No missing child. Nothing. It was like the call had come from nowhere. But that voice, that whisper, it stayed with me. Days later, I found myself staring at the dispatch room floor, suddenly aware of every shadow, every creak. I caught myself looking under desks and chairs, imagining what might be lurking just out of sight. The soft scrape of fingernails on wood echoed in my mind. He's under my bed, and I wondered, what if he's not just under the bed? What if he's right here, watching, waiting? The call came in just past midnight, the kind of time when even the busiest dispatch center feels like the world is holding its breath. I was halfway through my shift, tired but alert, when the phone lit up again. 911, what's your emergency? The voice on the other end was unmistakably the same kid from the night before, soft, almost a whisper, but there was something new in it. "He's copying me," the boy said. I blinked, confused. "Who's copying you?" "The man under my bed," he whispered, voice trembling. I leaned closer to the mic. "Can you tell me what he's doing?" "He says everything I say," the boy explained, but slower, like he's learning. There was a quiet scratch, like nails dragging on wood, and then the boy's breathing quickened. "Why is he doing that?" I asked, but the line was silent for a moment. Then he spoke again, voice barely audible. "Because he wants to be me." My chest tightened. I swallowed hard. "Are you safe right now?" "No." The boy started sobbing quietly, and I felt that knot of helplessness tighten in my gut. "Stay calm," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Help is on the way." I jotted down what I could and immediately dispatched officers to the last location he gave me, even though it didn't seem to match any known address. As I sat there, the line crackled, and I heard something else. Faint whispers layered under the boy's voice. A second voice, slow, mimicking his every word but stretched out, broken, like it was struggling to speak. I leaned back, trying to make sense of it. Then the boy whispered again. He's learning how to talk. Suddenly, the phone went dead. I stared at the headset in silence. The feeling of something watching, waiting, settling into the cracks of the room was overwhelming. What kind of thing copies a child's voice, word for word, slower and broken? I didn't know, but I knew one thing. The boy wasn't safe. And neither was I. The moment the officers arrived, something felt wrong. The house wasn't on any of our maps, not in any database, not even a whisper in the property records. But when I heard the call, the urgency, the way the dispatcher described the place, I knew it had to be real, or at least something was real. I watched the live feed from the patrol car's dash cam as they pulled up in front of a faded two-story house. The paint was peeling, the windows dark and grimy. The kind of place people say is haunted, but the kind that also feels alive. The officers didn't waste time. One of them went to the front door, knocked hard. No answer. They tried the knob. Locked tight. That's when they noticed the bedroom window on the second floor. The one the caller had said was his room. It was boarded up, but not with a few loose planks nailed over it like you'd expect. No, this was something else. The entire frame was sealed shut, thick wooden boards, heavy nails hammered through at every angle, leaving no way in or out. The officers exchanged looks, then one pulled out a crowbar. But before they could pry the boards loose, a faint sound came through the radio static. A whisper. "Help me." It was the same voice I'd heard on the call. I felt my throat go dry. One of the officers shone his flashlight into the dark room, and then they saw it. The bed frame. The wood was old, splintered, but every joint was reinforced. Nails, screws, metal brackets, all over the frame, holding it together like a cage. It wasn't just nailed shut. It was locked tight. The mattress sagged slightly, but there was no sign of anyone moving inside. The officers looked at each other, unease settling over them like a heavy fog. I could hear their radios crackle as they called for backup. Meanwhile, the whisper came again, closer this time. "Can you hear me?" "Where are you?" one of the officers asked into the dark. No answer, but then a scraping sound, like fingernails dragging slowly across wood. The officers froze. I could almost feel the room closing in on me from miles away, the air thick and choking. The dispatcher in me was screaming to get someone there, get someone anywhere. But this wasn't just another emergency. This was something different, something that didn't want to be found. The radio lit up again, this time a panic-stricken voice. "Get back." And then silence. The officers rushed the door just as the feed went dead. I sat frozen, the silence deafening. Minutes later, when the backup arrived, they found the door standing wide open. The bedroom was empty. No boy, no man under the bed, just the nailed-shut frame, standing like a monument to something I can't explain. But the worst part? Written in scratch marks on the inside of the wooden bed frame was a message. "He's watching you." I remember the weight of silence after that call ended. The dispatch center felt colder somehow, like a room left open to a creeping draft that no one noticed. Later, when the chaos died down and the officers returned, the house was empty. No boy, no shadow beneath the bed, just that locked frame with the scratched message burning in my mind. "He's watching you." But what haunted me most wasn't the empty room or the unanswered calls. It was what I heard when I finally listened to the recording. I sat alone in the quiet after my shift, the worn headset heavy against my ears. The tape from the call was saved automatically, the voice, the whispers, everything. I hit play, expecting to hear the frightened kid, the man beneath the bed, maybe the scratching sound again. But what came through was different. There was the boy's voice, soft and scared, whispering for help. Then something else, beneath it, subtle but unmistakable. My own voice. A faint echo, low and slow, layered under the child's words, whispering the same things I said on the call, but stretched out, broken, like a shadow of my speech. "Stay calm." It breathed, but slower, distorted, as if it was trapped beneath the bed itself, repeating me back, word for word. I froze. The tape hummed and crackled. Then the whisper came again, clear this time, chilling. "Can you hear me?" My heart hammered. I rewound, listened again. There it was, my voice, twisted and haunting, layered beneath the child's plea. I tried to tell myself it was just a glitch, a recording artifact. But it wasn't. It felt alive. I played it over and over, unable to stop. The whispered echo grew stronger each time. The air in the room felt thick, heavy, like something was pressing down on me. And then I heard it, beneath all the noise, beneath my own voice and the child's whisper, another sound. A soft, dragging noise. Fingernails scraping wood. It was coming from beneath the bed. I pulled off the headset, my hands shaking. I sat back, staring at the blank screen, feeling the silence press in. I thought about the boy, trapped somewhere no one could find. About the man beneath the bed, copying voices, learning how to speak. And about that voice, my voice, echoing from somewhere dark, somewhere close. I wasn't sure what was worse, the idea that the boy was still out there, or that something had found its way inside the dispatch center. Something that wasn't human. And now it was using me. The last whisper I heard that night wasn't from the boy. It was my own voice, calling from beneath the bed. The phone rang just as the clock blinked over to 1:03 a.m., another late shift where the hours felt like they stretched into forever. I glanced at the screen, expecting another routine call, a forgotten dog, or a false alarm. But this time, when I hit the headset and said, 911, what's your emergency? The voice on the other end made me freeze. It was me, not my real voice exactly. Slightly off, like an echo in a cracked mirror, but unmistakably my voice. Same tone, same rhythm, the same tired weariness I'd grown used to over years on the night shift. "Who is this?" I whispered, my heart hammering against my ribs. The voice didn't answer right away. Instead, it said something chilling, calm, and certain. "I'm the real one." The words hit me like ice water. I felt cold all over, my skin prickling, my breath catching. "The real one?" I asked, swallowing hard, my fingers tightening on the desk. "Yes," it said. "I'm the one who should be here. You're the fake." A laugh slipped through the line, soft but full of malice. "I've been waiting for you to notice." I wanted to hang up, to tell someone, but I was rooted in place, listening. "Why are you doing this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady despite the growing dread. "Because you took my place," it said. "You took everything from me, and now it's time to switch back." The line went silent for a beat. Then the voice started to mimic me, repeating my own phrases I'd said during past calls, word for word, tone perfect, but just a little slower, more deliberate, like a twisted parody. I could hear the faint static of my own voice bleeding into the line, tangled with his. I leaned closer, trying to find some sign of caller. "Where are you?" "No need to know," he replied, voice dripping with cruel certainty. "I'm already here." The hairs on my neck stood up as the call started to distort, words stretching out, warping, until the voice fractured into a broken whisper. "I'm the real one." And then the line went dead. I sat back, trying to catch my breath, the room suddenly too quiet, too still. Was it a prank? A glitch? Or something else? I started checking caller ID logs, tracing numbers. But there was nothing. No number. No trace. Just that voice. My voice. Claiming to be the real me. The one who was supposed to be here. But wasn't. The moment the line lit up again, I knew it wasn't just a prank. It was the same voice, the one that sounded just like me, that chilling echo from the last call. But this time, it wasn't just repeating words or making threats. It knew things, personal things. I pressed the headset tighter against my ear, tried to steady the shaking in my hands. "Who is this?" I asked, but I already knew. The voice chuckled softly. "I'm closer than you think," it said. My heart pounded as it started listing things, details from my life I hadn't told anyone on the night shift, things only I would know. "What's in your fridge?" It whispered, as if reading my mind. I swallowed hard, realizing it knew exactly what I had bought yesterday. Milk, some leftover takeout, a carton of eggs I hadn't gotten around to using. "How do you know that?" I breathed. The voice was patient, almost amused. "I see everything. I'm always watching." Then it named the picture on my desk. The one of my little sister, her smiling face framed in a cracked wooden frame. "You keep that photo here because you're scared of losing her," it said. The weight in my chest tightened. How could it know that? I never shared that with anyone at work. I wanted to hang up, to run out of that room and never come back. But the voice kept going, listing memories, fears, small details that no one else could know. "Your favorite song is the one you listen to when no one else is home. I saw you crying that night. You thought no one was watching." It wasn't just a voice. It was a shadow, a mirror reflecting everything I try to hide. "Your shift ends soon," it whispered, "but I'm just getting started." I felt trapped, like the walls were closing in, the hum of the dispatch center turning into a low, menacing growl. I gripped the desk, trying to focus, trying to remind myself this had to be a sick joke. But the voice didn't laugh anymore. It was serious. It was real. And it was here, right inside my head, waiting. The night dragged on, slow and heavy like thick fog rolling over a graveyard. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But when I looked up from my station, the way my co-workers glanced at me, it was different. Not the usual tired nods or casual eye contact, but cold, distant stares. And the names they called me. It started with a slip. "Hey, Laura, you ready for your break?" I blinked, confused. "It's Sarah." They just smiled like it was a joke. But it didn't stop there. Throughout the night, they kept calling me Laura. "Laura, can you check that collar again?" "Laura, do you want some coffee?" I shook my head, trying to correct them, but the words seemed to fall flat. It was like I wasn't there, like the real Sarah had disappeared. I felt a chill creep up my spine. At one point, I caught my reflection in the window, eyes wide, breath fogging up the glass. But the face staring back didn't feel like mine anymore. I tried to tell myself it was stress, exhaustion. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. It wasn't just a voice on the phone anymore. It was like something had slipped past the screen, past the headset, and into this place. Into me. The whispering voice that sounded like me was no longer confined to the call. It was here, filling the space between words, twisting my name in their mouths. I felt invisible, a ghost in my own life. The night passed in a blur of wrong names and cold shoulders. At one point, I heard someone say, "Laura's not coming back, is she?" And for a moment, I wasn't sure if they were talking about me. I clenched my fists, trying to hold on to myself. But it felt like I was slipping, like the real me was fading, replaced by something else. And all I could do was listen to the echo of my own voice, calling out from somewhere I couldn't reach. The morning light filtered weakly through the blinds of my apartment, pale and tired like me. I barely slept, not because of nightmares, but because of the strange silence that had settled around me, thick and suffocating. I reached for my phone, scrolling through messages and emails, looking for something, anything to anchor me back to normal. Then I saw it, a message from HR. I clicked open the link to the employee roster for the dispatch center, and my heart stopped. My name was gone, vanished. In its place was another name, Laura Benton, the same name the co-workers had been calling me all night. I stared at the screen, disbelief washing over me. It couldn't be real. I refreshed the page. The name stayed. I searched for myself, no results. It was like I never worked there, like I never existed. I tried calling the dispatch center from my phone. The operator answered, but the voice on the other end was cold and unfamiliar. "Sorry, there's no record of Sarah Collins working here," the voice said flatly. I felt a crushing weight settle on my chest. The room, tilting like the floor, was slipping away. How could this happen? I knew the faces of the people who worked there. I knew the layout, the codes, the routines. But now I was erased. And whoever this Laura was, she was real. Or at least, more real than me. I thought back to the call. The voice claiming to be the real one. The invasion of my life, my memories, my identity. Was it possible that this thing had done more than just call? Had it taken my place? The thought made my skin crawl. I tried reaching out to my friends, family, anyone who could confirm I was still here. But the calls went unanswered. Messages unread. I was disappearing, and the more I resisted, the deeper I felt myself slipping into something unrecognizable. By the end of the day, I found myself standing outside the dispatch center, watching shadows move through the windows. There was someone inside, someone wearing my face, speaking in my voice. But it wasn't me. It was the thing that called itself the real one. And I was nothing more than a ghost watching from the outside. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when the call came in. It was a man's voice, shaky but urgent. You can tell when someone's panic is real. It's in the pauses, the little catches of breath between words. There's a fire. It's in my living room. It's spreading fast. I can't breathe. I went into automatic mode. Sir, I need your address. He gave it to me. My fingers moved without thinking, logging the details, dispatching the unit. My voice calm, even though it wasn't. Get outside if you can. Is there anyone else in the house? My wife. His voice broke. She's upstairs. I can't get to her. The stairs are... He coughed hard. Then a loud crash sounded through the receiver. The kind of noise that makes your stomach drop because you know something fell that shouldn't have. The line cut. That's not unusual. In fires, phones melt, signals die. The heat knocks out more than just walls. But it left a pit in my chest. I kept the channel open in case he reconnected. He didn't. The fire crew was already en route. I logged it, marked it urgent, and forced myself to focus on the other calls. For about 15 minutes, it was routine, minor stuff. A loose dog, a fender bender, someone reporting a suspicious guy in a hoodie. Then the line rang again. I answered, expecting more of the same. It was him. There's a fire. It's in my living room. It's spreading fast. I can't breathe. I froze. Not because it was the same man, repeat callers happened, but because it wasn't just the same person. It was the exact same words, the same tone, the same pauses, even the same hitch in his breath before the word breathe. I checked the caller ID. Same number, same address. My throat went dry. Sir, is this? But he kept going, like he couldn't hear me. I realized something else. It was the same background noise, too. The same muffled thumps. The same crackling sound that got louder at the same moment in a sentence. It wasn't live. It was like the call was being replayed. I tried to interrupt. Sir, we already dispatched. But then he hit that coughing fit, exactly like before. Same number of coughs. Same metallic crash. And a line cut. I just sat there, staring at the monitor. My headset felt heavier than it had 5 minutes ago. I pulled up the log. The first call was time-stamped at 2:13 a.m. The second one, 2:28 a.m., exactly 15 minutes apart. I told myself maybe he called back, repeated his words out of panic. Maybe my brain was just overlaying the sounds, making them seem identical. But I knew that wasn't true. I handle hundreds of calls a week. No two are ever the same. The rest of the shift went quiet. The fire crew returned hours later with news I didn't want to hear. The house was gone. They'd found 2 bodies, both upstairs. I didn't tell anyone about the second call. The next night, I was on again. The early hours are always the hardest, when your body thinks it should be sleeping, but the phone is still ringing. At 2:13 a.m., it rang. There's a fire. It's in my living room. It's spreading fast. I can't breathe. I didn't even respond at first. My eyes went to the clock. My hands were cold. It was the same voice. Same sentence. Same sound of the fire in the background. I didn't ask for the address this time. I already knew it. I listened instead. Let him play through like some broken record, every sound hitting the same spot as before. The coughs, the crash, the cut. I stared at the blank line. I felt like I just listened to a ghost. 15 minutes later, it rang again. Same number, same call, same everything. By the third night, I'd stopped trying to tell myself it was coincidence. At 2:13, the first call would come. At 2:28, the second. Every single time, identical, like time was bending in just this one place, and I was the only one sitting in it. I even tested it. On the 4th night, I muted my mic and didn't say a word. Didn't dispatch. Just let the calls play out. It didn't matter. They still came. Still cut off at the exact same second. The fire? That was over. The house was ash. The number was disconnected. I checked the system. No active phone plan. I stopped drinking coffee before my shift. My stomach couldn't handle it anymore. My hands shook enough without caffeine. I made the mistake of telling Keith, one of the senior dispatchers. He's been here 18 years. He just shrugged. Old lines do weird things, he said. Sometimes a recording gets stuck somewhere in the system. Network glitch. Could be looping. But he didn't look me in the eye when he said it. I checked the archive logs. No calls were being recorded under that number after the fire. Nothing was being logged at all. It was like the system didn't even know I was answering them. On the 7th night, I thought I heard something different. It started the same way, his voice, his panic. But halfway through, between coughs, there was something under his breath. I couldn't make it out, so I played it back in my head after the line cut. It wasn't a word, more like a low, wet whisper. The next call, 15 minutes later, had it again. Louder this time. I leaned in toward the mic. Sir, can you hear me? The whisper came right after the crash, and I swear it said my name. After that, I started dreading 213. I'd watch the minutes tick toward it like some countdown. I couldn't stop. I'd think about calling in sick, but then what? Someone else would answer. Someone else would hear him. And I didn't want that. It felt personal now. Last night was the worst. The first call came, same as always. But after the crash, the line didn't cut. It stayed open. I could hear the fire roaring, and somewhere in it, the man breathing hard. The sound was wet, raspy, like his lungs were filling with something thick. Hello, I said. The breathing stopped. Then, faintly, you didn't help me. I froze. I couldn't finish. My throat locked. You didn't help her either, he said. His voice was so close it was like he'd leaned into the phone. The line went dead. At 2:28, the call still came. Exactly the same. I haven't told anyone about that part yet. Tonight's another shift, and I know what's going to happen. At 2:13, he'll call. He'll burn. He'll cough. He'll crash. And I'll answer, because that's my job. Even if it's the same night, over and over, it never ends. I didn't want to believe Frank at first. When he came over the radio, saying something fell off, I figured it was just the usual exhaustion talking. Dispatchers hear it all the time. Those moments when patrol or fire crews start to sound detached. You work enough late-night shifts and the world can feel stuck. But this was different. It was 3:07 a.m. when he first called it in. Same time it had been for, I don't even know how long anymore. My wall clock still said 3:07. So did the one by the supervisor's desk. So did the little green numbers on my computer. They all matched. They always matched. And outside? Frank said it looked the same as when he left the station an hour earlier. Same lights, same traffic patterns, same damn sedan at the intersection, just sitting there, he'd said, his voice lower than usual. It's like nobody's moved. I asked him if maybe the driver had stalled out or fallen asleep, but he cut me off. I drove past that same intersection 40 minutes ago. Same car, same driver, same exact hand on the wheel. He's not moving. I wanted to crack a joke, just to cut the tension, but something in his tone stopped me. Frank isn't the kind of guy who spooks easy. The other units started calling in similar things. Jenkins said the traffic light at Grant and Holland was stuck on green, but nobody was going. The cars just sat there, engines idling like they were waiting for a signal that would never come. And Davis, one of our newer guys, said he'd been driving in circles trying to take a different route to the call site, but every street fed him back into the same intersection. Same cracked billboard for the carpet outlet. Same flickering street lamp that buzzed like a hornet. They were all describing the same stillness. Like the streets had been photographed hours ago, and they were just driving inside the picture. I kept trying to work the calls, keeping my voice steady, telling them to focus on the route, but my own skin was starting to itch. Because deep down, I knew they weren't wrong. I could feel it from where I sat. The hum in the room. The way the air felt thick like before a storm. The fact that no new calls had come in since the fire one. Except for that damn fire one itself. Repeated word for word 15 minutes later. When I replayed in my head, it wasn't just the same words. It was the same voice crack at the same syllable. The same faint sound in the background, like someone slowly breathing into the phone. I didn't tell anyone that part. Frank was still on the line with me, talking slow, when I heard him stop mid-sentence. Hold up. Frank? What's going on? His breathing got heavier. I just passed a coffee shop on Main. So, I passed it 6 minutes ago. Same guy in the window. Same coffee cup halfway to his mouth. Same damn blink. My mouth went dry. Frank, are you sure? He laughed once. That nervous, quiet laugh people do when they're not okay. I'm sure, dispatch. I've been out here long enough to know the difference between déjà vu and whatever this is. Then Jenkins chimed in. Yeah, it's not just you, man. I'm at Riverside, and I swear to God, the bus I passed 20 minutes ago, still here, still halfway through the turn. I started writing things down on scratch paper without even knowing why. Times, descriptions, street names. Because a part of me thought maybe if I could see it on paper, it would make sense. It didn't. We tried rerouting them. Anything to keep them moving toward the call site. But no matter what I plotted, their GPS kept feeding them back into the same few blocks. It was like the city was folding in on itself. Frank got quiet again. Dispatch. There's no one walking. Not a single person. Every window I look in, they're frozen. Like wax figures. I wanted to tell him to get out of there, but the truth was I didn't know where there was any more. I glanced at the clock. Still 3:07 a.m. It hit me then. The sun wouldn't be coming up. Not if time wasn't moving. A knot formed in my stomach. I picked up the landline and called another department just to hear another human voice, but it rang and rang and rang. No answer. Not even voicemail. The sound made my skin crawl. Frank's voice came back, but it was quieter now. Dispatch. I think the smoke from the fire's still hanging exactly where it was when I first saw it. Meaning, it's not moving, not drifting, just stuck, like someone paused the air. I didn't respond right away, because something in my peripheral caught my eye. The building across from our dispatch center has a security light over the door. I've seen it flicker before, but now, it was mid-flicker, frozen. I stood up and pressed my face to the glass. The street outside wasn't empty, but it might as well have been. Cars in the distance, mid-turn. A man on the sidewalk, one hand in the air like he'd been waving. None of it moved. Not an inch. The only motion was my own reflection staring back at me. I backed away from the window. My throat felt tight. Dispatch, Frank said. I think we're stuck in the same 15 minutes. He wasn't wrong, but I didn't tell him the part that scared me most. If this was a loop, we'd already been through it more than once. I don't know when I first noticed the clock. Maybe it was because everything else had been so strange already that my mind didn't latch onto it right away. But now, looking back, that's the part one can't stop thinking about. It was 3:07 a.m. The wall clock above the radio console was a cheap one, the kind with a plastic frame and a second hand that ticks instead of glides. It always ran a few minutes slow compared to the one on my phone. But that night, if you can even call it a night anymore, wasn't just slow. It wasn't moving at all. The red second hand sat dead between the 1 and the 2, like it had been caught mid-breath. I remember staring at it during a call, this poor guy whispering about something pounding on his apartment door, and all I could think was, has that thing been like that all shift? When I hung up, I checked my phone. 3:07. Checked the clock again. 3:07. The clock in the break room. 3:07. The digital one on the dispatch software. 3:07. It wasn't just the wall clock. It was everything. I got up, walked to the hall, looked through the glass at the other side of the building, records, operations, the supervisor's offices. Every single clock I could see was locked on the same time. 3:07 a.m. You know that feeling when something is so wrong that your brain doesn't want to believe it, so it keeps looking for another explanation? That was me. I kept waiting for one of them to change. I even watched one for a full minute, or what should have been a minute. It didn't move. But the strangest part wasn't the clocks. The calls kept coming. You'd think if time had stopped, or frozen, or whatever the hell was happening, that nothing else would happen either. But my headset kept lighting up. People kept talking. The radios still chirped. At 3:07 a.m., a woman called to say she could see a man standing in her backyard, not moving, just watching her through the glass. At 3:07 a.m., a truck driver screamed that someone was standing in the middle of Highway 6, arms out, like they were daring him to hit them. At 3:07 a.m., a kid whispered from under his bed that his dad was in the room with him, except his dad had died last year. It was all still happening, and every single time I checked the clock, 3:07. I remember asking Pam, the dispatcher next to me, if her clock was stuck too. She barely looked up from her screen. Yeah, been like that a while. Like it was no big deal. Doesn't that bother you? I asked. Pam shrugged. It's probably a glitch in the system. I've seen it before, but I could tell she didn't believe that. Her voice was too flat. She wouldn't look me in the eye. And when she turned back to her keyboard, I noticed she kept checking her wristwatch, only to quickly pull her sleeve down over it again. She didn't want to talk about it. I decided I'd check the time outside our little dispatch bubble, just to prove to myself it was some local glitch. The main hallway felt longer than usual, like the lights had been spaced farther apart. I passed the break room, the vending machines, the lockers. Every clock stuck at 3:07. Even the one in the captain's office, the one that chimes every hour. Dead silent. I pulled out my phone again. 3:07. I refreshed it, locked it, unlocked it. 3:07. That's when I realized something that made my stomach knot. My phone battery hadn't dropped at all since the start of shift. I checked the date. Same as before. It wasn't just that the clocks were stuck. Time itself wasn't moving. But if time wasn't moving, why were we? I walked back to the dispatch floor, feeling like the air was thicker somehow. Heavier. And that's when I saw it, through the glass doors to the parking lot. The same car. A silver sedan, parked crooked across 2 spaces. I noticed it earlier in the night when I first came in, because it was covered in frost even though the air wasn't that cold. But now, it was exactly the same. Same frost pattern, same bent antenna. And there was someone in the driver's seat. Not moving. I must have stood there for 30 seconds, watching, waiting for a shift in posture, a breath, anything. Nothing. When I finally sat back down at my console, I told myself I was overthinking it. I forced myself to focus on the calls. But they just kept coming, one after another, like some looping nightmare that wouldn't let me wake up. And the details. God, the details. A man in a hotel room saying the people in the TV were calling his name. A mother begging for help because her baby's shadow was moving on the wall even though the baby was asleep. A fisherman whispering that the water wasn't water anymore. It was glass, and he could see faces under it. All of it at 3:07 a.m. I don't know how long it went on. Could have been minutes. Could have been hours. My body started feeling disconnected, like the only way I could tell I was still alive was from the sound of my own breathing in the headset. Pam eventually stopped answering calls altogether. Just sat there, staring at her monitor, hands frozen above the keyboard. Her screen was dark. I don't even know when it went black. I called her name. She didn't answer. Didn't even blink. Then the call came in that broke me. It was my brother's voice. He was whispering my name over and over, like he was afraid of being heard. I froze. He sounded terrified. "Don't turn around," he said. I spun in my chair instantly. There was nothing behind me. Just the empty hall. When I turned back, the call was still live. "Don't turn around," he repeated. "Not yet." She's not done looking. I could feel something behind me then. Not movement, just a presence. Heavy like the air had weight. My headset felt like it was pressing into my skull. My palms were damp. I wanted to hang up. I wanted to rip the cord out of the console. But my hands wouldn't move. "She's right at your shoulder," he said. "She wants to see if you notice." I didn't breathe. The headset crackled, like the sound of someone dragging a nail along the wire. And then silence. When I finally moved, it was to take the headset off and drop it onto the desk. The moment it left my ears, I realized something else had changed. The clocks were moving again. 3:08 a.m. Just like that. Pam was typing again like nothing had happened. The captain's clock chimed the quarter hour. Outside, the silver sedan was gone. But the call log still showed something impossible. Every single call I'd taken during that freeze was stamped with 3:07. Even the one from my brother. I tried calling him after shift. He picked up on the second ring, groggy. He'd been asleep all night. He didn't know what I was talking about, that I've been here before. That thought has been looping in my head for hours now, or maybe days. I can't tell anymore. When the clocks froze at 3:07, I thought maybe it was just a power glitch, a weird coincidence. But the power's still on. The monitors still hum. The phones still ring. The screens still light up with new calls. Time stopped, but the job didn't. I haven't left this chair. I mean that literally. Not once. I don't remember standing up to stretch. I don't remember going to the bathroom. My legs feel heavy, stiff, like they've molded into the seat. My lower back is screaming, but the moment I think about moving, another call flashes on my console. And I answer. Every single time. I'm starting to feel like the headset is part of me. The plastic rests on the curve of my skull, the soft pad against my ear. I can feel the warmth where it presses, a slight indent in my skin. If I took it off, I think there would be a mark. The calls, they don't stop. And they're not normal calls. Sometimes it's the same voice, same words, same crackle. I'll hear the exact phrase I've already heard, word for word, in the same tone. Like someone pressed replay on reality. She's not breathing, she's not breathing. I'll try to ask for details, but the line will go dead. And then, 2 calls later, the same voice, the same panic, the same words. It's not deja vu fades. This doesn't. This is like being trapped inside a skipping record, except the record is my life. The strangest part? I'm not tired. Not the kind of tired I should be. My body aches, yes, but my mind, it's locked in this strange alert state. Like that hyper-focus you get after too much coffee. I feel wired, but empty at the same time. I try to remember my last meal, the last sip of water. I can't. I glance at my coffee mug. It's sitting on the desk, full, steam still curling from it. It hasn't gone cold. It hasn't moved. It's still 3:07. I know what you're thinking. Maybe I'm imagining all this. Maybe I'm dreaming. But dreams have an edge. They shimmer. They feel unstable. This feels too solid, too heavy. Every sound is sharp. Every smell sticks in my nose. The faint scent of disinfectant from the floors. The warm plastic smell of the headset. The thing that's really starting to scare me is the window. From my seat, I can see the street outside. It's not much of a view, just a stretch of road, a traffic light, the faint glow of a diner sign a block down. At night, it's quiet. But now, every few minutes, I think it's minutes, but I can't measure anymore, an ambulance drives past. Same direction, same speed. Lights flashing, no siren. It passes. The street goes empty. And then it passes again. Not another ambulance. The same one. Same smudge of dirt on the side door. Same slightly flickering light bar on the roof. The first time, I thought it was heading to a call. The second time, I thought maybe they were circling the block. The 5th time, I realized it wasn't circling. It wasn't turning. It was repeating. I even tried counting. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. But at some point, the gap between passes doesn't feel consistent. Sometimes it feels like only seconds between appearances. Sometimes longer. But it's always the same ambulance. And I never see it approach from far away. It just appears into view, drives past, and disappears again. I've stopped looking for too long. Every time I stare, my chest gets tight, like I'm tempting something. Like if I watch it closely enough, something in the back will turn its head toward me. I've thought about calling out to the others, asking if anyone else sees it. But I don't hear anyone else. I know there were other dispatchers when this started. I remember voices, laughter earlier in the night, phones being answered in other cubicles. Now, the room feels empty. I can't see over the partitions without standing, and I don't stand. I don't even know if I can. I picked up the phone to call my supervisor's desk 3 times. Each time, there's just silence. Not even a dial tone. The calls keep coming in, though. Just now, as I'm thinking all this, another one flashes. Line 2. I press it. 911. What's your emergency? A voice I don't know. A woman. She's whispering. They won't let me leave. I ask her where she is. She says she's in her house. She says there's a man in the living room. He's smiling at her, but his eyes aren't moving. Before I can say anything else, the line clicks dead. I write it down, like I've been doing with every strange call. My notepad is half full of scribbles now. The handwriting gets shakier the further down the page you go. Some entries are just timestamps. 3:07, over and over, in a single phrase, same as before. I don't know why I keep writing. No one's going to read this. I start thinking maybe this is my fault. Maybe I didn't notice something earlier, missed a step, answered the wrong call at the wrong time. Like I stepped off the path without realizing it, and now I'm here. I look down at my hands. The skin around my knuckles is pale, bloodless. My fingertips tingle. I flex them and hear faint cracks, like joints that haven't moved in hours. I think about standing up again. Really think about it this time. My knees feel locked like rusted hinges. I brace my hands on the desk and push, and my headset tugs, yanking me back down. The cord doesn't feel long enough anymore. The next call comes in before I can try again. I answer. 911. What's your emergency? It's me. My voice. The same pitch, same tone, same breath pattern. It says, "Don't look outside." And then silence. I don't even write that one down. I just sit there, staring at the black plastic of my headset cord, the spiral of it, the way it curls and straightens with the tiniest movements. My pulse feels slow, heavy. I know I shouldn't, but I turn my head toward the window anyway. The ambulance passes. This time it slows down. The light from its flashers rolls across the glass, painting the room in brief washes of red. Through the windshield, I see the driver's outline. Just a dark shape. The head turns slightly. Not enough to catch a face, but enough for me to know it's looking toward the building. The moment it's gone, my phone rings again. The same woman's voice. "They won't let you leave either." I freeze. My throat locks. She's right. I haven't left. I can't leave. I don't even know if the door's still there. I hang up. I stare at the mug of coffee again. Still steaming. Still untouched. The little swirl of heat rising from it doesn't waver. It's like it's frozen mid-rise. I think, maybe if I stop answering, this will end. I let the next call ring. The light on the console blinks. The sound fills the room. It keeps ringing. It doesn't time out. It doesn't go to another desk. It just rings. And then the ringing starts to change. It slows down. The gaps between tones stretch. And in between, I hear breathing. Not mine. Slow, steady, right in my ear, even though I haven't picked up. I can't take it anymore. I answer. "Hello." The voice says, "It's still 3:07. I slam the receiver down. My heart's pounding now. My mouth is dry. The ambulance passes again. Slower this time. I swear I see movement in the back. A shadow shifting against the lit interior. I don't know how much longer this can go on, but I have this sinking feeling it's already been going on forever.